Welcome back to the MJM Grand Sports Talk Show. I'm Matt Shalloe, joined by Justin Bott today, and soon-to-be producer Michael Seitz once he figures out his laptop situation here early. Bob, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to switch things around, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to talk some NFL draft here. What, still nothing, buddy?
Nothing. I don't get it.
Oh, wow, your mic is loud. I'm going to pop these in because I can't hear Bot through the thing at all still. So
I don't get why I did this stuff.
What, your laptop?
Yeah.
Justin, so since it's me and you today, I guess, for the time being, until producer Seitz is ready, can't figure this out. No Ryan McSpedon today, unfortunate. Good news for all. He's a little under the weather. You playing the can't hear you. You're not here.
No McSpedon?
There you go. You showed them. All right, Bob, talk now.
Hello. Can the audience hear me?
The audience, yeah. I can hear you. All right, yeah, so we're going to talk about the NFL draft. That concluded Thursday and Saturday, and we gave our mock draft last week. Obviously, the real thing took place. First, I guess we'll start with Bill. What do you think they did? What do you think of what they did, I should say?
I really liked it. There's not much to say except this is a big draft in terms of depth because I think they're very similar to Tampa Bay in a way because they didn't lose many key starters. I mean, look at John Brown. He's pretty much the only one, right? Got Deion Dawkins. Yeah. The whole offensive line's back. We got Matt Milano back as well as Darrell Williams. Didn't think we'd get both those guys back. So we are in kind of a similar situation. Obviously, of course, not winning a Super Bowl, but still, this is a big depth draft for the Bills. And I really like their first-round selection of Greg Rousseau. And I also like the second-round pick because they could have picked that guy at number 30 in the first round either way. Boogie Basham Jr. and
Boogie's a guy that was going late first round in a lot of mocks, and it seems like they got great value there. And I think that's why they did double up on the defensive end position. I think just because he was still sitting there, I don't think that was their plan going in all along. Obviously, they do need help on the edge. We've talked about that a lot on the show with guys like Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison getting older. I don't know if that was their initial plan, like I said, but they saw a guy like Boogie Basham Jr. still sitting there, and they went on ahead and doubled up on that position after taking Greg Rousseau at 30, like you said. I don't know. I like the depth they have there now. Not to mention AJ Epinesa from a year ago, the second-round pick. He's only going to develop and progress further on, hopefully, the way that you want him to. And now you have three great young seasons on that edge for years to come.
I mean, I think that Basham, honestly, he's the more NFL-ready guy, I'd say, and Rousseau's more of the higher-ceiling project guy. But this is a team that, again, took the gamble on taking a guy like Josh Allen. And everyone thought that they should have taken – I know a lot of Bills fans thought they should have taken Rosen at the time, and they were quickly mute after these – well, especially after last season because of how well he's progressed and all that. So, yeah, it should be interesting to see. I really like Rousseau and the 6'7" tall. I mean, he's just got the frame to be a successful NFL player. I mean, just the genetics, 6'7" tall, 266 pounds. In the 2019 season, he had 19.5 tackles for loss and 15.5 sacks. Boogie didn't have more than 10 sacks for his best season, so I think that's where the high ceiling comes in for big old Greg. Yeah, and I mean, if his mom wasn't a nurse and if he didn't have to sit out for COVID 2020, who knows what could have happened? He might have been picked way higher. He might have even gone before. It was Kwity Paye, the first edge selected, but I'm not exactly sure who was the first edge gone. But I think
Jalen Phillips for the Dolphins.
All right, yeah, it was either those two guys were kind of interchangeable. So yeah, I really like Rousseau, and the talk about Rousseau's height, 6'7", and the height was a big factor for the Bills. I mean,
yeah, he's a big boy.
6'7".
You seen that picture?
Yeah, the thing of him and McDermott.
Yeah, him, McDermott, and Bean Stinks. And I know those guys, are
Yeah.
coach and front office worker, blah, blah, but still, like, they're still, grown men, human beings too. And this guy looks like double their size. It's kind of incredible. I mean, Sean McDermott was a defensive back in his day. He played football, and just that picture of him just towering over them was really something. But yeah, he's a big boy, like you're saying.
Yeah, Rousseau,
sure.
He's 6'7". Spencer Brown, 6'8". Tommy Doyle as well, 6'8". And we really loaded up on the offensive lineman. Jack Anderson, 7th-round pick. He's 6'5".
I was going to ask you, what do you think about them, their next two picks in round 3 and round 5, doubling up on the offensive tackle position now, and then obviously taking the guard Jack Anderson from Texas Tech later in the 7th? What did you think about that? Because you did talk about how they signed Darrell Williams for that 2-year deal. They obviously have Deion Dawkins locked up for the next, I think, 3 years at this point, maybe 4. His deal might kick in this year. And they take 2 tackles back-to-back after taking the 2 defensive ends back-to-back. What did you think about that? Because, like I said, they do have both the tackles locked up for at least the next 2 years.
You know what? I really like it because a guy like Mitch Morse, you hate to say he's injury prone, and obviously these guys are tackles, but Cody Ford, I believe when he got drafted, he was an offensive tackle, and he's been a right guard. I think he'll probably start right guard this upcoming season, right next to
I mean, he'll never have to see the light of day at tackle again now. I mean, they got the depth. He's going to be able to move inside permanently, where I think, and they think he's much better.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that benefits him out a lot too.
I think he's been a lot better as a guard. Obviously, in the Texans playoff game, he had that rough penalty that lost us quite a few yards, and we don't like to talk about the Texans playoff game too much, but
forget that one.
Yeah,
forget that one.
But I like the adding depth here because you never know what could happen to an offensive lineman. And when you don't have that many needs, I really like adding depth and surrounding your franchise quarterback with these guys. I mean, if we hadn't drafted them, let's see. Tommy Doyle on our depth chart is now listed as the backup left tackle. You got Ike Bowker. He wasn't horrible. So Feliciano goes down.
He did a good job.
Yeah, but I think if Mitch Morse does get another concussion, obviously you're not hoping that he gets injured or anything, but he has gotten injured in the past. I think you could plug in a guy like a Spencer Brown or a Tommy Doyle in that position, even though they're tackles. They just got to snap the ball. And if you draft an offensive lineman in the 3rd round, I think you should be able to ID the mic pretty well and do all that kind of stuff that a center can do. So I like the adding depth in this draft. And speaking of depth, we also add wide receiver and safety depth for Marquez Stevenson and DeMar Hamlin. I like that because
Marquez Stevenson, I wanted to ask you, looks like he slots in as the kick and punt returner. I don't know if you've seen his tape from his return days at Houston, but he is a very similar Isaiah McKenzie. Speed for days, nice gadget receiver, runs the go route a decent amount. Now, Isaiah McKenzie was re-signed this year on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Is this the guy you hope to be the kick and punt returner this year and groomed in to be the Isaiah McKenzie role in 2 years from now?
I mean, I would hope so. You always need good playmakers and special teams. We had Andre Roberts, the Pro Bowler, for that good amount of time, and it's hard to replace him. And yeah, I brought up that we didn't. I mean, technically, kick returner is a key starter, especially when it's a Pro Bowler. So I forgot to mention that we lost him. But still, McKenzie in the game where we bench Roberts, he played really well. And McKenzie is a guy that's been this Brian Dable system for a while. And he's been a guy that if you're not a Bills fan, you don't really know about him that much. But now that
definitely.
Yeah, and now that he's been on the team for a while, a lot of people know him as he's kind of like the motion guy. He's the guy that gets defenses to get out of their general way of things. So I like keeping Isaiah McKenzie, but I like him as a mentor in a way to Stevenson. Because
I mean, they're very similar the way they play on offense. And Isaiah McKenzie can return the ball too, as we saw in that Week 17 game when we talked about Andre Roberts getting the rest and he took that punt return to the house. So he can help them in both facets there. And it's weird because I think he'll be helping a guy that's eventually going to replace him. Like I said, I mean, not that Isaiah McKenzie's older, but you draft the younger guy in the 5th round. And just from watching his tape, they are so very similar. And I mean, you can only have so many of those guys, you know what I mean? But this guy, he seems really fast, like really freaking fast.
Yeah, I mean, you just love to see that. And like these playmakers, I mean, guys like Henry Ruggs, they go to Alabama and all that. But him and Jalen Waddle, they're 1st round picks because of their speed, and I talked about intangibles like height, and weight and stuff like that, that works the same way. It's all genetics with speed and stuff like that. So NFL teams, they love looking at a guy like, especially after Tyreek Hill really broke out with Mahomes. Even before that, I think he was pretty decent with Alex Smith. And they love seeing like a guy that just takes a safety, like pretty much the safety has to guard this one guy, so safety's out of the play. So in like these fast guys, NFL teams really like to utilize them and stuff like that. So hopefully Stevenson can grow to be one of our better players. But the wide receiver we took last year, Gabe Davis, is hopefully gonna make a big leap this season because everyone thought John Brown was going to be that number 2 guy last year, and he got hurt. And Gabe Davis, he really stepped up in a big way in the Pittsburgh game. Allen threw a beautiful ball to him, and that was one of the scores that I particularly remember, in which the Bills really took over in that one. And Gabe Davis, with his height, and the Bills drafting these guys that have really worked out. I just really like the team that we have upcoming for this next season. It's tough because the Chiefs traded their first-round pick for Orlando Brown, I'm pretty sure it was. And, yeah, because I remember they have like 2 all-pro tackles. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But, yeah, it's tough that they also got some offensive line additions since Mitchell Schwartz, I believe they let him go. So that'll be a little tough because the pass rush was a little difficult to get past him. But with guys like Boogie and guys like Rousseau, I think hopefully they can step into their own in the season. And they'll be playing for a team that should be a playoff team. And they should be a team that really makes an impact. I mean, yeah, that's one thing I always think of when I see number 32. Remember Sonoris Perry award, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, now we got a guy who's an actual draft pick wearing that, and everyone's figuring out the wild goose chase of OJ and the Ford Bronco. So, yeah, obviously you hope. I think Dane Jackson was the 7th round pick last year. So these late round corners, and Brandon Beane works his magic with his scouting, and this could definitely be a guy that's that could make an impact. I know a lot of Bills fans are saying number 2 corner is a big need, and I think Levi Wallace is pretty good still. So I'm not exactly on the number 2 corner. We need to address it in the first round because, I mean, you're not going to get a top corner in the first round, but you are going to get one of these edge rushers, which is why I really like Rousseau. But, yeah, so I like the Bills' position in this upcoming season. We kept all our guys. Didn't really need to sign anyone too major because, I mean, last offseason we really did our stuff in trading for Stephon Diggs and all that. And now we're just hoping that these guys can stay healthy for this season. And even though Ryan's not here, do we want to do the Jets overview? Because we have this in our school.
Welcome in.
Yeah.
We used to all be able to sit here.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties.
Here, I'm back in. I'm coming back in.
What'd you say?
I'm back. We're back.
Austin's in here. Oh, yeah, you said you want to talk about the Jets really quick. Without our boy Ryan in here, that's going to be tough, eh? So they got the quarterback. They trade up to take the lineman Elijah Vera Tucker. I thought they did a great job getting Elijah Moore at pick 34.
Yeah.
And then they drafted the running back right with the fourth pick, Michael Carter at UNC, one of the two UNC running backs.
That was a high value pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the first 4 picks were very good.
And then after that, obviously, they take another Michael Carter from the 5th round. Michael Carter out of Duke, a safety, so they got 2 Michael Carters. Then after that, I mean, I don't know. I only know so many prospect names. They filled their needs. They did what they had to do, but obviously they got their guy in Zach Wilson. We knew that coming in. Trading up to get the offensive guard, I think, was huge for them. They took back then, obviously, in the first round last year. They're really building something good on that O-line. And like I said, I love Elijah Moore and Michael Carter at running back. Big position of need. A lot of people are very high on him, so I think they did a great job there filling their needs. They even went and drafted 2 corners, one in the 5th and one in the 6th. Jason Pinnock out of Pittsburgh and Brandon Eccles out of Kentucky. That's obviously a big position of need for the Jets.
Yeah, and I heard that this is an opinion that I saw a popular YouTuber, Bengal. He said that he didn't think that the Jets would go corner in the first round, at least, because Robert Saleh has done so well with these kind of mediocre type corners, and they've been really good at producing edge rushers to kind of get to the quarterback and not need corner help, kind of like the Buffalo Bills. I think that was like 2013. We had Marcel Darius, Mario Williams, Jerry Hughes, Kyle Williams, and all those guys were great at rushing the passer. We had Stephon Gilmore, who obviously was a future defensive player of the year in his own right. But honestly, corner was not the most important position. And I really do like the approach that's been taken from the league ever since the 49ers really broke out with that great defense because of Nick Bosa. I like the approach to get an edge rusher. And obviously the Bills hopefully got one of their own premier guys. But, yeah, I really like the kind of direction the NFL is taken in that regard. I like taking an edge rusher more than I like taking the speedy guys, which I brought up that a lot of NFL GMs seem to like to do. But
I mean, I'll tell you why I like those 2 picks. If you look back to that Chiefs game, obviously the Bills lost in the AFC Championship. What did it come down to? What were they missing in that game that the Chiefs had?
yeah, I mean, you could ask the same question for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was pressure on the quarterback. And the Bills went out and they touched that. So like you said, I like taking the edge rushers more than the speedy guys because obviously you see how it impacts the game because it impacted the AFC Championship. And like you just said, that was the biggest difference in the Super Bowl. The Bucs got to Pat Mahomes, obviously, on every time he dropped it back and I'm rigorously untouched, and that's why they ended up rolling him out of the water. So, hey, I mean, that's the way the Bills went down last year, and they took 2 swings and addressed it. So I like the edge a lot.
Yeah.
It's not just one speed. Do you think the Jets did a good job too? I mean, it doesn't apply to us as much. It was more for Ryan to get his annual rant in that no one asked for, but
yeah. But yeah, I know you said the picks. I'm just gonna look at these on the website. But yeah, I think it was a pretty good draft. Excuse me, a pretty good draft for the Jets. Michael Carter taking him round 4. He's the guy that's pretty much right after ETN and Damian Harris. That's who the Steelers took, right? Or, that's not Damian Harris. Why am I? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, but I think he's right up there with running backs. Obviously, running back not a very valued position in today's NFL with guys getting taken in the 2nd round like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry and still being dominant and teams being weary to pick one high and also pay them. So I like taking one in the 4th round for them. And yeah, they had a lot of picks in the 5th round. I'm just seeing that. And I like addressing the corner depth. And they got themselves Pittsburgh corner as well, because I'm pretty sure Dane Jackson went there as well. So yeah, so hopefully they could. Yeah, very underrated university in that category, but yeah.
Okay, so what do you think was the biggest reach? I'll give you mine, and I think we all know where it's going. It's the Raiders every year, and it's Alex Leatherwood at 17. But I think they kind of fixed it because they got the safety Trayvon Moehrig at the 11th pick in the 2nd round. And, like, had they taken Trayvon Moehrig at 17 and Alex Leatherwood at the 11th pick of the 2nd round, I don't think anyone would have said anything. So they kind of corrected it in a way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Trayvon Moehrig was a guy that was ranked that high in some mocks.
And they needed safety. They took 3 safeties. They ended up taking Divine Diablo to Virginia Tech in the 3rd round. And they took Tyree Gillespie out of Missouri, safety, in the 4th round. Divine Diablo, though, was a little bit of a bigger guy. He kind of can play like the big nickel or the tight end, so he's not like more of a strong safety if they need him to be. Obviously, Trayvon Moore is going to start right away because he was a 1st-round prospect. But so I think that does go down as like the biggest reach, but I think they did a good job of correcting it by trading back up and drafting Trayvon Moore and safety at TCU. And like I said, if those 2 picks were flipped, no one would say a word. But it seems as if the Raiders are doing something like this every year. Las Vegas, I think I said a few minutes ago. I probably did it a lot, but like I said, yeah, I feel like they kind of corrected it, so it's not really as blasphemous as it was when we first heard it. Because when they took him, I believe Christian Darrisaw was still on the board, who ended up going to Minnesota, who traded down. So I mean, he was still there, and he was rated much higher as a tackle. But I feel like you can never go bad out of after taking a guy to Alabama. You know what I mean? They know how to play football over there, but hey.
Yeah, that's true. Dylan Moses going undrafted.
Yeah,
I think that was a surprise in my opinion.
Yeah, he was a good linebacker in college, and the top conference.
And the injuries just got to him.
So what was your biggest reach? Was it that, or do you have something else?
Yeah. So that I just felt like you would say that, and it's a very I think that was the biggest reach for that position right at 17, because a lot of people have had him as around 2 grade. I have a couple other guys that I have even some not even being taken in the 1st round. I have. Well, first off, this is my least favorite. This is my opinion on the least favorite because I have a few teams on here. The linebacker, it's either Jamin Davis out of Kentucky for Washington. I don't like that because the report came out about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with his heart condition, I believe it was. So that's what steered some teams away from him. And Arizona also took Zaven Collins, which – I mean, I don't hate Zaven Collins. I would have taken him over Jamin Davis, in my opinion, but I think Washington would have. Yeah, so in that one, yeah, I would have. I think Davis probably is a 2nd round or so pick, but when you're picking around 20th, I guess I'll give you a slide there. Also for the Saints, Peyton Turner. I know he impressed a lot of teams when it was coming up to the draft, but I don't know. I just wouldn't have personally drafted him, but obviously I'm not a GM. I have another Saints player that they drafted, person I'm very familiar with, Ian Book in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I would not have taken him in the 4th round, I'll be honest. I'll take him in like the 6th or 7th round maybe. And I saw him at Notre Dame. You can't say he doesn't have enough tape because it's like he's playing on national television and he's playing these teams every week, and he's been the starter for how long there, and he still gets taken in the 4th round. I am not a fan of Ian Book. I also have Leatherwood on there. I also saw another one out. The Cowboys took this cornerback, Nashawn Wright. He wasn't listed in the top 300, yet they drafted him at 99 overall. So that's one of the ones I looked up and saw. But, yeah, in my opinion, I just don't like the Davis pick for Washington. I would have taken my Notre Dame guy, Owusu-Koramoah, even though teams were a little weary on taking him. I'm trying to think of who the other top linebacker prospects were because Zaven Collins was one of the top guys. He was around like 3 or 4. And I was thinking about mentioning this, but we have a other segment where we're going to say which picks we didn't like. And I have one that's for a particular team that I didn't like. That's not these, but I'll save that for a little later. Yeah, so this pick that I didn't like, the Parsons pick for the Cowboys, because they have Jalen Smith, they have Leighton Vander Esch. Yes, they were not very good last year. And they only took him because he's pretty much the best available, but you don't really need to do that. Yeah. And they could have addressed the offensive line even at this pick. Rashawn Slater went with that next pick where the Chargers are protecting their man, Justin Herbert. Vera Tucker got taken by the Jets at the very next pick. And, I mean, Cowboys honestly could have maybe even trade down again. I don't know
what happened with the Cowboys was they were supposed to pick a 10, right? They got double sniped. with JC Horn, the corner going 8th, and then Patrick Kane, the corner going 9th. But
Yeah, they were definitely looking. They were
and that's why
definitely
they traded
looking for it.
down after that. They definitely needed a corner. And I mean, I thought first thing when I got to that pick, I go, okay. I think they were hoping that Penei Sewell fell. Obviously, he didn't. He went 7th to the Lions. So I figured that they were going to take Rashawn Slater and get some extra protection for Darnold. They go corner. And then I did not see the Broncos taking corner after they signed Kyle Fuller after he was cut by the Bears.
Yeah.
I thought, honestly, that's where I was going to see Justin Fields go. Obviously, they decided to go the corner route. I don't think the Cowboys really expected that. So then they come in, trade down 2 picks, not much. And that was so the Eagles could jump the Giants and take their boy Devontae Smith, which was personally my favorite pick of the draft. I think he's the best receiver in this draft, and he was the 3rd one taken. And I believe that was a great trade-up because I think the Giants were going to take him, because then you see the Giants trade down and they take Kadarius Toney at 20, another receiver. So I definitely think had they been on their pick at 11, they would have got their guy in Devontae Smith, because they ended up going receiver anyway. And then that's where the Bears came in and traded for Fields. So all that kind of got jumbled around. And all players I expected to go around that area, just to different teams. And that's where the Cowboys, like I said, kind of ended up getting sniped twice. When picks 8 and 9 were 2 of the corners I think they would have had. Because then the next corner off the board was Caleb Farley at 22 to the Titans. And he's a guy that wasn't going to go that high because of original locks. Talent-wise, he was going that high, but he's had all the injury problems. And then Greg Newsome was the other corner to go in the first round. He wasn't going to go that high. So they could have traded back.
Yeah, that's why I think they honestly
further.
they could have done that. Like they could have just traded back again, gotten some more picks because
Even the next 2 picks were
Yeah, they just with the
I know Micah Parsons does a great job of getting to the quarterback. He can be an edge rusher as well. I guess that's. I mean, because in college he kind of played both very well. I guess that's how they plan on using him. I don't know. Unless they just expect Jalen Smith to kind of break down. He's had a lot of injuries. Maybe they expect that to kind of catch up to him. I know Leighton Vander Esch is obviously taking a couple steps back. He's been hurt a lot too after his big rookie year of being on the All-Pro teams. But I don't know. Maybe they're just drafting for depth. But I mean, you don't really draft for depth with your 12th overall pick.
Yeah,
And that's what this move seems like to me.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that one, and a lot of linebacker picks in the first round, a little questionable. But the Zaven Collins one for Arizona, I understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, the Cowboys could have even I would trade down with the Cardinals and have them get their guy at number 12 and chill at 16. You could get an offensive lineman because at this point they don't need a receiver. They got Gallup, they got Cooper, they got CD from last year. So that's the one position they absolutely do not need and should not spend another pick on. But that offensive line getting old, getting injured, I think they should have addressed that in the first round. But obviously they didn't, and I don't know. Dak got injured. Hopefully he can hold them, make them better again. But Dak, with his small sample size last year, obviously couldn't help them much.
So which team do you think had the best draft overall?
This is a tough one. I believe I had a few teams.
I think the Lions did a really good job. Obviously, Penei Sewell, the tackle on them at 7 was big. Then they go and get themselves 2 big D tackles, Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil at NC State, Onwuzurike out of Washington. And then if you know Dan Campbell, he wants to bite kneecaps off the new head coach. That was his presser. These are both 2 giant physical guys. And then they get the corner at Fietu Melifonwu from Syracuse, who was going early second in some mocks. They get him at pick 38, so early 3rd round, so good value there. And then they had Amon-Ra St. Brown, brother of former Notre Dame, now current Green Bay Packer, Equinemius St. Brown, wide receiver. He went to USC. So they addressed a lot of needs, and then they filled that out with they got a running back in the 7th out of Oregon State, and they grabbed Derek Barnes, linebacker from Purdue, in the 4th, so they didn't pick again until the 7th, so it was quiet for them right there in the middle. But I think they did a good job of addressing their needs, and I think they got a lot of good value is what I want to say. I think they ended up doing the best job, and then maybe Dan Campbell finally has this franchise in the right direction. And, I mean, who knows? Jared Goff could still be the guy there, but if not, I don't know. That's probably something I guess they'll address next year if they suck and have a top pick, but right now, I think they definitely are heading in the right direction. I think the Browns did a good job too.
Obviously, a lot of that is because they got linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who we were talking about from Notre Dame, that fell that far. So obviously, that's a great value pick. And then I like the pick of Greg Newsome a lot, the corner in the first round. So I thought they did a good job, personally, too. And the Dolphins, I think they did a pretty good job, too, snagging Jalen Phillips. And they made a lot of moves that, I don't know, seems like they needed to make at positions of need. And every time you draft a guy at a position of need, I mean, no one can really, obviously we have to wait and see, but I mean, Jalen Waddle, that one goes without saying at 6. They need receivers, and he was one of the best in this draft. And I love their pick of Liam Eichenberg, the other former Notre Dame offensive tackle in the second round, who some guys had slipping into the back end of the first in their mock. So again, good value there. And like I said, every time you draft a guy at a position you need, you kind of got to, you love it on paper, you kind of got to wait for them to play to see if they fit. But I mean, you're bringing in new young prospects at positions you need help at. So from right now, on the outside looking in, it looks like they did a good job of that. So
Yeah, I like the you brought up the Lions, and I was thinking about them as well. But it's a situation where it's like, yes, they do need to address receiver, but their defense is so bad. It's like, when do they? Because they didn't address receiver until the 4th round, and St. Brown is, I'm sure, is a decent player if he got drafted in the NFL. But I also like their draft, but I didn't know if I want to put them as some of my teams with the best draft. But for me, I had the Bears because obviously trading up to get their guy, Justin Fields, who some people thought was going at 9 to Denver, which, yeah, I think that when teams have their guy going into the 4th year of his contract that showed flashes in his first year and hasn't been good. So Denver, I'd imagine they like Locke, so they didn't want to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback there. So the Bears trade up and took Justin Fields at 11. Tevin Jenkins in the 2nd round, I like that because I thought he was going first. I thought Bears were going to take him, but instead Dave Montgomery's a great back, but they also need depth. So they took Khalil Herbert, Virginia Tech in the 6th round. So I like the depth with that pick as well. I also like the Giants draft.
Yeah.
People said, oh, well, they just got Kenny Galladay and they have good receivers either way without Galladay. But Kadarius Toney, not a lot of people realize how good this guy is. This is a very deep receiver draft. And you have Waddle, you have Devontae Smith, you have Jamar Chase. All those 3 guys are kind of bundled into one little ball in like the tier category. And then you got guys like Kadarius Toney, guys like Elijah Moore, guys like Rondell Moore, guys like even De'Ami Brown. All these guys are just a little bit below. And everyone loved this Kadarius Toney pick, but I really like Toney, and I think he's a good addition to this roster. And I'm not going to hate on wide receiver depth. I'm not going to hate in skill position depth. So I think that was a good job. Also taking Azeez Ojulari. I thought he was definitely going the 1st round, but then he didn't. So
Yeah,
I
there was
thought
a
that
lot
was
of defensive end picks, obviously the Bills included, that we talked about in that round. The Bucs went defensive end.
I thought the Bills could have taken him at least. But that's still a good selection with Ojulari. And then Aaron Robinson. He's an underrated corner that I think will be decent. I saw some. I think it was Sims, whatever that guy's name is, works for CBS Sports. He said, who does his like little draft rankings, and he was the guy who said that Jeff Okudah wasn't the best corner in the draft, and he also said that he stood by his Josh Allen pick, that he said he was the best receiver, and he also had Herbert as the number 1 quarterback last year. So he's been good at his predictions. And he said Aaron Robinson would be good, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good track record. Might as well follow her.
Yeah, and also take on Brightwell. Saquon got the injury, even though their backup played decent enough last year. They want another guy, and round 6, take a running back. I mean, not much can go wrong. I mean, no one wants to take a running back that high. The last time a running back went super high, I'm pretty sure it was Zeke Elliott with the, was that like 3rd overall pick or whatever it was? Or no, it was actually Saquon. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he went
2nd overall because he was so hyped up. But getting that running back depth for Gary Brightwell out of Arizona, I like that. I like just getting depth, even though they're a team that's not exactly great right now. I think I like them to It's either them or no, I don't even think it's the Cowboys. I got the Giants as my favorites after taking Coney, taking Azeez Ojulari, taking Aaron Robinson. And the Giants, I think, should be the favorites to win that division. Even though, I mean, the Eagles,
I've been on them. I
the
like
Eagles got their guy in Devontae Smith, and I think he's good, but I don't know.
Before we go to break, though, some other NFL news, a little drama before the draft. Aaron Rodgers sounds like his days in Green Bay could be done. Do you buy this? At first I didn't, but now, with all this coming out, I mean, it's kind of hard not to buy. He said he wants their general manager to be fired or else he won't be back. As it seems like the Raiders, Broncos, even Giants, I saw one guy tweet of possible destinations where he would go. God bless you. And play next year. Sounds like he might be done in Green Bay. Now, you'd think it sounds like we made this very evident 10 weeks ago. So you'd think they'd want to get a trade done before this draft, or at least get some picks. And obviously that ship is coming down. And now I guess they just have time to make this right, but it kind of sounds like he's not going to be starting with the Green Bay Packers come week 1 of the 2021 NFL season. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is
Bad.
not a good situation. It's not. It's almost like the situation with Watson before the allegations happened.
Yeah.
But Rodgers has actually been on a winning team, and he's been like getting bye weeks before this past season, at least. And I'm not. I don't love the decision for him to, if this is true, that he wants to leave with these, because his contract restructuring negotiations. That's what apparently this stemmed from.
Well, did you hear what the absolute start of it was?
What was it?
He raved about how good of a wide receiver Jake Kumaro was, and we remember him from his short time with the Bills.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he loved him, loved the guy, and the next day they cut him. So he thought that was like a slap in the face. And the Bills obviously picked him up right away. Ends up getting from the Bills. John Brown came back, and then he got picked up right away again by the Saints. So a guy that everyone kind of wants to have. And probably partly because of the way Aaron Rodgers raved about him. He wanted him to get more playing time, and instead of doing that, they didn't listen to him. They went out and cut him. So he just felt like that. I mean, it kind of does seem like that's a big slap in the face. Like, oh, I really like this guy, and the next thing, boom, he's gone. And then obviously the Jordan Love draft last year, and now the contract restructure thing. And the lack of weapons, I feel like, is not that, because their defense kind of, wasn't great. I mean, obviously, the corner this year in the first round to kind of take more playing time away from a guy like Kevin King was a big reason why they lost last year. So you can't really argue with that. And they got a good receiver in Mario Rodgers in the third round at Clemson. I mean, they can play. We've watched plenty of Clemson games. So, I mean, I don't really buy that one as much. The other reasons, yeah, I get why he's frustrated, but I don't know. But they won in, 2010? And so it's been a while, and they're really trying to run it back with this guy. I definitely think he's capable. But do you really want to throw that away and go do it with another team? I mean, we saw Brady do it, and obviously it paid off. He's, 5 years older than Rodgers is. So it definitely is time for him to go to another franchise and win. And I think a team like Denver could be really awesome, because I think Drew Lock stinks. And I think they have a good roster around him, and they had Monty Williams, the running back in the second round. To go with already skilled players like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy on the outside. I don't know, no offense, seems like a great fit, and they got a good defense. I think Rodgers really actually put that over the top. Problem is you're beating the Chiefs in that division, so. And that's something the Broncos are going to have to deal with for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, I also wrote in my notes here that I think that the Broncos took that quarter 9th overall because they wanted to use that as a piece to trade for Rodgers, because they could have taken a quarterback right there. They could have taken Justin Fields, who was taken just 2 picks later, but they chose not to. And taking a corner, I don't think that was their number one need in that draft, but yet they still did it. I think they could have taken linebacker. I know inside linebacker was a big need for them. Didn't take Micah Parsons. They took a corner. So I thought that was interesting. I saw a tweet saying that he could be a piece in the Rodgers trade, and I said, yeah, I can definitely see that. You got a first-round pick, and it's a top 10 pick, and this is something that the Packers need, even though they also drafted a corner, 29th overall. And I would like that to be a piece in a trade with Rodgers, because I think that's the best fit, even though he said like the Raiders – the Broncos are in a way better position. They got Von Miller. Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP, one of the best players. I believe he made the 2010s All-Decade team. Bradley Chubb, one of the best young edge rushers. Too bad he tore his ACL, but he's a very good pass rusher. They have a lot of good pieces on that defense, and they have Jerry Jeudy, who's still a budding young player who
I mean,
unfortunately had to catch passes from Drew Lock last year.
he's a young Alabama receiver. You can never go wrong with them. I personally think he's going to start the season next year in Green Bay, and he's going to play next year in Green Bay because if he comes out and tells you for him to return, they fire the GM. If you fire the GM, I'll return him. I feel like you just don't let him go. Unless
there's some truth to it. People say that him on the floor don't get along.
I feel like they do. I mean, they seem like they're having a great time last year, going 13-3, or in that first round bye until it all came down.
I mean, he wasn't a guy who he's not throwing the ball on Mahomes' amount. They run the ball a lot under LaFleur.
Two
Compared
great
to
running
McCarthy.
backs. They still do. Obviously, Jamal Williams is gone. They still have A.J. Dillon. They drafted another one this draft. They're still going to run the ball. I mean, and they pay Aaron Jones what they think it's he's one of the top running backs in the league, top running backs in the league. So they're still going to run the ball a lot. And I don't know. I think to me, if it's to me or against the situation, the choice is obvious. No, that's just. We're going to take a quick break. We went a while. That's good. That's missing one of the best times
of the year. When we get back, though, we'll touch a little bit on the NHL teams that have clinched. And then I guess we'll talk some baseball news. I mean, Yankees Astros played tonight for the first time since the infamous Jose Altuve home run when he hit the buzzer on his chest that told him to swing at the pitch, even though they deny that still. I mean, obviously something was up there. They cheated. First time they play tonight. I expect some fireworks. I guess we'll see. And then we'll do our locks. So, like I said, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. You'll listen to the MJM Grand Sports Talk Show on WSBU, The Buzz.
Ready. Welcome back to the MJM Grand Sports Talk Show. Matt Shalloe and Justin Bott here. Justin, first I want you to talk about your boy Tom Wilson.
The Washington Capitals back at it again last night with the cheap shots, and I believe you have a little timeline for us here of all these cheap shots over his career, because it's definitely not the first time it's happened.
Yeah, so initially I was gonna talk about suspensions overall. He had a little part on his Wikipedia page, kind of similar to the Alden Smith scenario that we talked about, but it wasn't as lengthy as I wanted. So I just want to do an overview of all his cheap shots in his entire career. So December 2013. So this is talking about stuff that he did. This is talked about a lot in the media, and he wasn't suspended, plus the ones he was suspended for. So first off, December 2013, Braden Shen. It led to an ejection, but no suspension for him. April 2015, Lubomir Visnovsky. And this is a playoff game between the Caps and the Isles, and Wilson wasn't suspended for that hit. So he went 2-0 going up against suspensions, but his third incident, December 2015, against Curtis Lazar, he served his first suspension. So a high hit. He loves the high hits. December 2015, speaking of former Sabres, another one. Curtis Lazar and Brian Campbell. I'm sure a lot of Sabres fans know this guy, but he was ejected. Tom Wilson was ejected in the third period against the Panthers for boarding Campbell. And shocker, wasn't suspended again. So suspended one of those four incidents. Up next, we have another former Sabre, Nikita Zadorov, April 2016. And in this article, it said it split the clean versus dirty discussion, but we all know that Wilson's a dirty player by this point. Zadorov suffered a concussion. April 2016, again, Connor Sheary, another former Sabre. But yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna say random dates. So 2016, John Moore. 2017 preseason. 2018 playoffs. October 2018. So March 2021, and then the last one, which he was only fined $5,000 for a repeat offender, which I just don't agree with personally. But
So when there was a tangle up, right, like on the side of the net, and Artemi Panarin was pretty much defenseless on the ground. He just started wailing on him, right?
yeah, I know a lot of Caps fans are saying he was trying to protect his goalie, but
Yeah,
he fell down and he's basically on his stick, and Wilson is trying to punch him. They're saying he punched his shoulder, and even if he did punch his shoulder, he's aiming for his head. Obviously, he strikes at him twice, and if he did punch his shoulder, and then one of the best players in the league, Artemi Panarin, jumps at his back, and then Caps fans will say, well, usually if you're that small going up against a 6'4" Tom Wilson, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. And, well, yeah, but he's defending his teammate who's literally getting assaulted. If this has happened on the streets, this is going to the court. I mean, this is a Todd Bertuzzi kind of situation. I mean, it's just Tom Wilson. I need him and Ryan Reeves to do another little matchup so that Ryan Reeves can hit him and then laugh at his face again, because this is just unacceptable. People are saying that you're the reason that the only sport that allows fighting is going bad, and it's okay to fight. I have no problem with that. Just
It's crossed obviously multiple times
yeah.
in his career. I mean, there's like a, you know,
I mean, you just don't assault
12-page
people.
book on
It's
it.
okay to fight. You just don't.
Yeah, fighting and assault is two different
And
things.
grabbing Artemi Panarin's helmet off, grabbing his hair, and then slamming him on the ice where he could have been injured, just like the way trying to remember the guy's first name, Moore, in the Bertuzzi incident. The guy Moore, who's in the hospital for 4 months, his career was ended. That could have happened to Panarin, who's a much better player now than Moore
MVP
was.
finals last year.
So I just don't agree with Wilson's antics, and it's the fact that the Department of Player Safety just refuses to give him a lengthy suspension is just very disappointing. And hopefully they learn from their mistakes.
All right, so kind of switching gears here, but staying on a topic like that. Speaking of antics like that, like I mentioned before break, Yankees welcome the Astros into town. First time they'll play since that 2019 ALCS, obviously with last year's shortened season, only playing the AL East and NL East. The two teams didn't match up. You think we see antics like that? Think there's a little brouhaha?
going on in the Bronx.
I believe
It's been a
so.
while. There's only, I think, like 5 players on this national team that were on that team, but 3 of them, two big, Alex Burke and Carl Sprint, 3 guys that really love that scandal. Two big first batter tonight's game. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I could definitely see a little scrum happening.
I wish something happens and the Astros try to come at a team with Aaron Judge, Carlos Stanton, Aroldis Chapman. And the list goes on and on with these big bosses. I mean, Luke Voigt won't be there. He's another big one. He's really having them up in Syracuse today with the Sprint Riders. But I mean, Ruben Abdullah, he's known for one big sucker punch.
Yeah.
I feel like something could go down. Don't think it'll be tonight. I know it's the first game. I feel like maybe they'll do some end of the series type jump. Late in a game that's like, well, it depends. If tonight's game's like out of hand either way, like yeah, maybe, like I don't know. But we saw teams like the Dodgers last year get their shot at them. Yankees haven't had their shot. Like I said, this is their first meeting since that. I know it's been 2 years, but I mean, this is their first and most recent shot since then. And I mean, they were gypped out of that in 2017, just as much. Not only were they gypped out of going to the World Series because of those antics, Aaron Judge should have won an MVP award as a rookie, and Jose Altuve won it. And I don't know. And then in 2019, whether they were cheating or not with the whole buzzer thing, I mean, so technically they kind of got to do it twice. You know what I mean? It's the first time they see them since. So I don't know if I expect anything. I think it'll be booze, obviously. The booze from the 10,000 out there will feel like a booze from a full stadium, I think. I mean, I think those fans will really make their voices heard. And a lot of Yankee fans have been waiting a year and a half now to do this. So we saw AJ Hinch now managing the Tigers. They were in over the weekend, and every day his name was announced, he got his fair share of booze. And the same will happen to George Rivera when the Blue Jays come to visit. He's in the lineup, he's back now. So, I mean, these guys, you know, they're on the bigger and better things. They got out of Houston, but people still don't forget. And now, I don't know, Houston's the town. You got those, there's only, I think, 5 people he says it's on the roster. But like I said, of those 5, 3 of them are the big ones. And 2 big career. Betting first, third, and sixth tonight, I believe. So, you'll hear from them early, you'll hear from them often. I don't know. But Yankees coming off pretty sweet with the Tigers. You know, I think they keep playing all day every week last week. The Orioles and the Tigers, obviously 2 teams that are, you know, close to the bottom of the DL in terms of standings. But that's where you build confidence. Hopefully, you create into this series good of a point in the Astros. And like I said, when it comes to the playoffs, the Astros have definitely gotten their fair share of beatings in against the Yankees. So it'd be nice to see them take 2 out of 3 here at the stadium and kind of pick things up. They're back to, I think they're 14-14, so they're back to 500.
Yeah, 5 of their last 6. So the Yankees finally kind of putting it together. Everyone thought that they were going to be the top dog ever since the start, but it's kind of like a slow kind of grow into this new team. I mean, they've kind of had the same team for a while, Judge and Stanton and all those other guys. But, you know, the 10-0 win against the Tigers, that really boosts a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, Tigers are not – same with Corey Kluber. A lot of people saying, oh, these last 2 starts, he's been 14 shutout innings. They're against the Orioles and the Tigers. So, I mean, hey, you pitch against the lineup in front of you and starts like that, build confidence.
Yeah, people don't understand what confidence means in sports. Yeah. And a lot of people, and whether it be hockey, football, baseball, or whatever, and a lot of people wanted Josh Allen to sit out for like the whole year. Like people want teams to lose for draft picks when you really want to build chemistry, even if it's at the end of the season. So, I mean, it's
so big to win those games because people say, like, oh, you sweep the Tigers, good, you should have. But you reverse that, you get swept by the Tigers, people say you stink. You know what I mean? Like, well, they don't get the recognition when they do sweep them. But, you know, a lot of like, oh, they should have done that. And I know, sorry, someone who said exactly first. Is on the show usually. Yeah, they should have done that, and they did. But had it been the other way around, like I said, it's all those teams talking back in, we're done.
So Same thing for March Madness, really. I mean, teams just get hot at the right time, exactly. And you beat a big name school like what was it? Loyola Chicago beating Illinois, and
you build. So I mean, hey, sweeping the Tigers could be more beneficial than you're not. Bats could come out hot tonight, and they could put up a 6 spot in the first inning. Who knows? We'll see. Other MLB news, really quick. Sucks for Dodgers young starter Dustin May, second Tommy John surgery, blew his arm Saturday. That was tough. And then also another injury. White Sox young outfielder Luis Robert now joins Roy Jimenez, their other young outfielder, on the long-term IL. He's going to be out 8 to 12 weeks with a hip injury. That's tough. And one question I want to ask you, that's part of the hitting coaches today, hitting like 220 this season. Starts with the man, the $1 million man, multi-million dollar man in the middle of Francisco. What's wrong with him? He's
I don't know, sometimes.
I watched the Mets last night and Sunday. I went Sunday baseball. I think I watched this guy go 0 for 9. He was 0 for 5 Sunday. I'm pretty sure he was 0 for yesterday. He did have a big walk late game on that thing, but I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him. Early, yeah.
Sometimes the guy playing for a team for so long, and then he gets into kind of a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then it's just, why can't I think of the guy a lot of people wanted the Yankees to sign. We didn't sign him, and he sucked last year. No, it wasn't Bryce Harper.
Manny Machado.
Manny Machado, yeah. This is like a kind of a similar situation.
All right.
Where a guy joins a new team, and then
That's just a slow start, and it's just getting worse and worse. All right, real quick, we have 1 minute. Our locks. I'll tell you mine. I like the Phillies tonight, -1.5. Aaron Nola on the bump. They host the Milwaukee Brewers, and I like -1.5 basketball. Milwaukee Bucks hosting the Brooklyn Nets. So -1.5. Let's do it right after that. What do you got?
I have a hockey and I have a NBA. So first off, I got over 5.5 goals. Bruins at the Devils. It's projected that Yaroslav Halak will go up against Mac Blackwood. So two backups going against each other.
50 shots again, or whatever the heck that was last night.
Yeah, even though the Bruins still have a really good defense, I think Halak hasn't been that great. Barely over 900 save percentage, so I think a lot of goals could be scored in that one. Also, my NBA one, Kings -5.5 at the Thunder. SGA's out, and the Kings were on a winning streak, so I think they continue that streak to 3 games, hopefully. So,
I guess
Kings -5.5 and over 5.5.
Good stuff. I like it. This has been the MJM Grand Sports Talk Show on WSBU The Buzz. We'll see you later this week. Everyone have a good night.